Season 4 of is now fully out. I've been watching this show week to week, and every single week, some amazing episodes happened. So, let's review this entire season of... Now, just a quick warning, this review may tap into a few spoilers here and there that do occur throughout this entire season. I'm not making this a full spoiler review because I'm not diving into each individual thing and breaking it all down. I'm still reviewing the show. Just a warning, there may be spoilers throughout this entire review, but if you're fine with that or seen the show, let's talk about it. And for starters, if you didn't see my first video on me reviewing the premiere for this season, I essentially said, I'm hooked. I was hooked from the start for this show, and I was there throughout its entire runtime. Ever since episode 1, when Mark killed that guy, I was just glued to the screen. After every single episode, week to week, my eyes were only glued to the screen even more. I was so invested this time around for this season, which leads me to my main point of, this may be the best season of Invincible we have gotten so far. Now I know they're all about the same par with each other, but to me this season just had so much more to offer that just makes it stand on top. But what exactly did it have to offer more that the other seasons didn't quite have? But to me this time around, this season was all about the characters, the character arcs, the character moments, the payoff and the setup was all there for these characters. Now don't get me wrong, every single Invincible season has always had a moment with the characters. Season 1 was essentially all about the characters and then the payoff at the end of it. But the reason why this season stands so much more out is because every character gets their chance to shine and every character goes through something almost desperately tragic. That just makes for a much more engaging watch. Mark goes through multiple different things throughout this season. First about killing people, not trying to be like his dad, to all of a sudden being in this big old Vulturemite war. While Adam Eve is going through this depression of not having Mark around, while Oliver is going through this depression about not having his dad around, every single character just has something going on about them that there's just a lot of powerful moments throughout this season because of it. To me, this entire season stood out thanks to the characters. But it didn't only stand out for the characters because that's when we get to the main big stuff throughout this entire season that everybody loved, the action. The action this time around for this season was some of the best moments we have gotten in the entirety of Invincible. Now, I haven't seen the comics, I had no idea what was supposed to happen in this season, and I was blown away week from week at what was happening. Episode 5, Conquest, and then we get episode 7 being the best episode in the entire show. Week to week, there was just these satisfying moments with the action, some intense moments, some dark moments. That was all what this season was. And it ends on this massive cliffhanger revolving around that, and I can't wait to see where the direction that they go with season 5. Granted, I do have the comics right there. I kind of sneak peeked into what season 5 might be, and it does look like more what season 2 was, setting up for more what's to come, but still going to offer some good moments, which is slightly disappointing, but I'm still really excited to see what they still have to offer. Essentially, once this season got going, it never slowed down once. Episode 5 hooked you in right away, and the entire season just went on a full swing towards the finish line. And after every single week, it just got more intriguing after the last episode, and every episode got better than the last one. To me, this entire season can just be described as your edge of your seat moment. Every single episode, there was this new thing that happened to a new character, from character moments, from setup that you might know is going to pay off down the line. There's just all of these moments that just happened episode after episode that you were just surprised that all these phenomenal episodes were coming out back to back from each other. And not just that, to me, everything that's set up between season 1 and season 4, they have tied a perfect knot around from this point in time. It feels like the character arcs that were set up throughout those first 4 seasons, that entire storyline they were setting up, has now concluded, and now for the later half of this show, because we are about on the halfway point in the comics, so the entire rest of the show, I feel like it's now going to be this new storyline about the cliffhanger set up in the final episode. The war happened, And then we get this new part about the Viltrumites living on Earth now, and I feel like that's going to be the setup to this new arc. That's why I also feel like Season 5 is going to be a lot slower, because we're now setting up that storyline that was ended off in Season 4. But to me, this felt more of the conclusion season, felt more of the action-packed season, a lot more powerful season because you get all these character moments. And that's all paid off what has been set up so far in the comics. That's why this season worked so well for me to begin with. It's because it paid off all those moments that have been set up so far and is now leaving the gap open for the other arcs in this show. But the one thing holding the season back for me is going to be episode 4. This episode is just a huge question mark for me. Like, why does this thing exist? Now, a lot of people are calling this episode filler, which I 100% agree with. Now, look, Invincible fans all the time are calling any episode without action filler. I'm not in that boat. In fact, this episode isn't considered filler because of the last 10 minutes and even the first 5 minutes of the episode. But everything else in between that, this episode is 50 minutes long, so when you have 15 minutes of the episode not filler, you get essentially 40 minutes of the episode where absolutely nothing important happens. Because this storyline isn't even the comics, for one, and two, the episode is just boring. You sit there watching the episode, and they're giving you exposition about what hell looks like in this world, which is cool, but I do feel like a good majority of this episode, absolutely nothing happens. It just feels like a complete waste of time, and it would be considered filler if it wasn't for those 15 minutes that actually have a plot point in there. Because if I was ever rewatching this season and got to episode 4, I would skip to the last 15 minutes of the episode and watch whatever happens down there. This entire episode has absolutely no meaning of existence without those last 15 minutes. I'm kind of convinced that those last 15 minutes exist in this episode, so it's not technically considered filler. But if I'm ever rewatching the season, I'm skipping episode 4, I'm not watching it, I'm only watching those last 15 minutes. There's no reason this episode should exist. It just ruins the perfect nature of the season while having this awful episode, maybe the worst of Invincible, just squeezed right in the middle. Without that episode, this season would have been absolutely perfect, but because that episode is in there, it sadly just brings back Season 4 from being a perfect season of TV. But overall, Season 4 is exactly what I loved most about this show. It brings that action that we fell in love with and the character moments that we fell in love with. It concludes the first half of the show while setting up what the second half of the show is going to look like. Some great character moments, great action, all of it just shows what this show can be at its best, represented throughout this entire season. Besides for episode 4, this is almost a perfect season of TV, and what comic book fans, what superhero fans absolutely love. And this season was all of that to me. Anyways, if you like this video, maybe leave something on the side to you too. Like, subscribe, see you guys next time. Goodbye.